So, all right. Hey, quick question for the day. Rank these guys in terms of how comfortable you are with them as your RB1 moving forward. Or let's just say starting, okay? Rank these guys. How comfortable are you starting them moving forward? The 5 names that I have, Jeremy Hill, who had kind of a bounce back, but, 2 goal line carries. That's when he does it. Jeremy Hill, Chris Ivory, Jonathan Stewart, Shady McCoy, Darren McFadden.
I would go Shady McCoy, number 1. I know.
I didn't know if you'd go Shady or Stewart.
I'm going with Shady McCoy as my number 1. He looked last 2 weeks.
But
Just like great. Last week was the kind of the first time in a while where you've watched LeSean McCoy and thought, hey, he actually looks healthy. And can he stay healthy? I don't know. But he is healthy right now. And a healthy LeSean McCoy is an elite running back. So I'm going to go Shady. And then the next one is tougher. I would probably go – I'm going to go with Darren McFadden, as crazy as that sounds.
Sounds pretty crazy.
His volume is so insane. And then the team –
How is it? Is it more? He's not getting more carries than Stewart. It's just the dump-offs you're saying?
Yeah, just being completely involved. That offense is only going to get better as Romo gets more acclimated and gets the rust off. Then I would go Jonathan Stewart 3. And I guess Ivory.
Yeah.
4. Ivory and Hill. Ivory's ahead of Hill for sure. I'll say that.
For me, it's funny because you're saying that's crazy, and I get that, but I would actually have Darren McFadden as my first of this group because that offensive line and Tony Romo back, his production, his baseline is going to be very high, and his ceiling is very high. So I'm very comfortable with Darren McFadden other than injuries, but you got quite a few injury risks on this list. In fact, every single one of them other than Jeremy Hill has had a label of, an injury guy. So I would go Darren McFadden.
29 carries is pretty good.
Pretty good.
Off of all week was the groin.
Yeah.
Then I would go probably J. Stu, then McCoy, then Ivory, then Hill.
The one thing that's really attractive to me about Jonathan Stewart is he's got 6 straight games of 20 or more carries, and his schedule to end the year is as good as it gets in fantasy football. But he's not as involved in the passing game. I probably have to side with you after seeing that 29 carry number with McFadden. I probably go McFadden. McCoy and Stewart are basically tied to me, and then it's the question. The guys that I'm not excited about starting right now.
And the 29 carries, so maybe it's not a legitimate question, but it's been a while since watching a Cowboy game where any other running back actually touched the ball, and I felt like Turbin actually got some carries and some red zone carries. Clearly Robert Turbin is
the backup,
but he was actually getting snaps where when Michael was the backup, who is he is long gone.
Yes, practice squad.
And I was trying to figure out how I could whip up like a red practice squad jersey to wear in today.
That would have been great.
But it didn't happen.
I'm sure he'll be cut and they'll have some extras they can send you.
So, but Turbin's actually getting carries. So that was an interesting.
So McFadden owners handcuff with Turbin.
Yes, yeah,
because that should happen. McFadden. You're at this point you're leaning on McFadden,
right?
Which you can do and should do for your fantasy team going into the playoffs. But you better handcuff him.
You're dancing with the dragon.
Yeah, and last week we said we didn't really know if you handcuff because Turbin hadn't been on the roster, and we're like, is it going to be Rod Smith? Is it going to be Turbin? Some mixture. It probably would be a mixture, but it seems like Turbin's the guy.
Yeah. And this is a good week to get him, even though you didn't get him last week, because there's so many huge pickups this week. People aren't rushing out to get Turbin unless you're the DMC owner.